Looking to start fresh? Tired of juggling apps and switching tabs? Join the thousands of satisfied clinicians who have made the switch to Therapy Notes, the highest rated EHR for behavioral health.
Now offering group telehealth, Therapy Notes makes it easier than ever for clinicians to streamline their practice. Get your fresh start using promo code MODERN for 2 free months.
This episode is also brought to you by Buying Time. Since 2007, Buying Time has supported entrepreneurs and therapists on their admin, marketing, and bookkeeping needs, and so much more.
Check out their free Buying Time Systems Inventory Checklist to uncover hidden expenses and optimize spending in your practice at buyingtimellc.com/MTSG.
You're listening to the Modern Therapist Survival Guide, where therapists live, breathe, and practice as human beings. To support you as a whole person and a therapist, here are your hosts, Curt and Katie Vernoy.
Welcome back, Modern Therapists. This is the Modern Therapist Survival Guide. I'm Curt with Katie Vernoy, and this is the podcast for therapists about the things going on in our practices, things going on in our world. And we are joined once again. It has been one of our very, very first guests from the podcast, Maelisa McCaffrey, is coming back, adding to the conversations about AI as it comes to our practices. When we had first kind of started talking about this about a year ago, AI, as it was coming to the therapy world, was in its infancy. It has now been around for well over a year at this point, and the documentation maven, I think, is how I've always kind of pictured Maelisa, and just very excited to have you back today.
Yeah, thank you. I'm excited to be here.
So, as you know, what we ask all our guests to start out with is, who are you and what are you putting out into the world?
I am a lot of things. I'm a psychologist. I'm a creative, and I'm an upcoming author.
Ooh, that's
exciting. Yes. Nature lover, nail design enthusiast. Those are the big things. People lover. And things I'm putting out into the world are right now a lot of videos. So literally YouTube videos on all things documentation and groups. So I've been running a lot of groups for therapists who are behind in their paperwork. So this is not about this. This is not what this episode is about. But if that's you, you're not alone. And that's been awesome. Yeah.
And that's through QA prep, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes. With my business QA prep. So it's been a lot of fun.
So when we had first talked about AI on our podcast, it was kind of around, here's legal and ethical ideas around what it should be. And a lot of it was kind of what was available at the time as far as kind of the interplay of here's what it could be, here's maybe an introduction of things to consider when it comes to protected health information and that kind of stuff. And kind of some cautionary, like, let's not maybe jump headfirst into this. And now that it's approximately 12 months later and everybody has jumped headfirst into it, and we start a lot of our episodes with the question of, like, from a learning place, not a shaming place, what are people getting wrong about AI and therapy?
Yes. So obviously this has been a really popular topic in my community. So, I do focus on helping people with their documentation. And I would say I was really surprised. I went to a training in person, like probably the only one I've been to in years, and in person. And most of the therapists there were not excited about AI. The presenter talked about it and had everyone raise hands, and it was like 2 people. But in my community, a community of people who are struggling with paperwork, they're really excited because it feels like this silver bullet. So I would say the biggest thing to shatter your dreams is that AI is not your silver bullet to getting paperwork done, to getting progress notes written magically, quickly, and perfectly. That's kind of an overarching theme I'm seeing, is that people are really hoping I'll sign up for this thing and it's going to do my notes for me. There's so much here. I mean, the whole episode could just be on this one question. So I'll just pick a couple of the big things. The first thing therapists are getting wrong about AI is that there is no such thing as writing a good individualized progress note and de-identifying information. So this is probably the most common topic. It comes up with ChatGPT specifically, and it comes up with other, I don't want to call them out by name because I want to be 100% sure. And right now I'm not 100% sure, but there is a platform, an AI platform specifically for therapists for helping them with notes that is not HIPAA compliant and that has misleading information on their homepage about being HIPAA compliant. So you do want to really, be diligent about that. But essentially, even that platform says, don't put in PHI. And then it gives you all this information that you need to put in to that system in order to write a progress note. And all of that information would be considered PHI. So, and PHI is personal health information. That is a really, really big problem. And I don't want to really disappoint people, but that's just the fact. And when I consulted with an attorney who's also a licensed professional counselor about this, even he said to me, as a therapist, you're either paying for it with your own money, paying a platform to be HIPAA compliant so that you can enter PHI ethically, or you're paying for it by essentially selling your client's data to a company that's not HIPAA compliant. And so kind of thinking from that mindset of like, you cannot write a note about a session without including that person's symptoms, diagnosis, their identification, like gender, age, their location. There are a lot of factors that would be very easy for an AI, an intelligent platform, to determine about someone once you put in enough information to write a good progress note. So that's the number one thing. There's no such thing as de-identifying a progress note.
But I think
that doesn't match up.
Yeah. So I just want to make sure I'm understanding. So like if I go into a free platform and say, well, I'm going to vaguely talk about what happened in the session and ask for a note, I'm not getting a good note. But if I put in enough information to get a good note, now I've broken HIPAA and I've provided PHI to a platform that has no need to keep that information private.
Exactly. Okay. And I am not like a doom and gloom type person. I'm a, hey, let's go ahead and hang out in the gray area type of ethics person too. But this is just too new to make that excuse. You don't have to use AI to write your progress notes. It's not like a necessary thing at this point, and it's still so new and so unknown. It's not worth taking that risk. And I say this as someone who's not necessarily risk averse. To me, it's too much. So that would be the big thing, probably the biggest thing. The next thing that therapists are getting wrong about AI is kind of what I alluded to earlier, which is that it's not going to save you all the time you want it to. I've tested a bunch of these platforms, and the thing I've been most consistently surprised by is how slow they are. So they are not ChatGPT. I tested ChatGPT, and I've used it for other things. ChatGPT is awesome. It's fast. It's amazing. And if you give it a fake session or a real session, which we're saying not to do, it'll create a progress note in like 5 seconds. I mean, it's crazy. These other platforms that are HIPAA compliant are not doing that. I mean, it's literally like put in your information, go and have a coffee, go and get your coffee, come back, sit down, maybe it's done.
And then do you have to edit it afterwards?
And then you have to review it and edit it because it does get things wrong. All of them, every single one I have tested so far has added things that did not happen in the session.
Oh, wow.
Every single one. So you do have to check it. Now, and I'm not saying this as like a perfectionist, like if a few of these things get by, is it going to end your career? No, right? But this is not something we want to rely on. That's the thing I want people to really know. So it does take time. And then on top of that, there's really only there's two main ways to use AI for progress notes. So either the AI kind of logs in like we are on something like Zoom, some kind of platform, and listens to your session, or you record your session and upload a recording of the session. Then the AI writes a note. The other big way is you enter the information from what happened in your session, and then the AI writes a note from that. Well, if you have to enter that data into an AI platform, you have already taken up as much time as you would just writing the note on your own. And then on top of it, you have to then go, hit submit, go get your coffee, wait for it to produce the note, come back, and then review the note. And I swear to you, I can teach you how to write a note faster than that. So I would say those are the two big things. It's not the saving grace you want it to be right now. That might improve. And you can't de-identify enough information to get a good progress note.
For the ones that listen, how does that work?
So you can either upload a recording of your session. So there are people who, for example, like use their phone. And we can get it, now we could get into all the like tech stuff. Like, is that HIPAA compliant to use your phone to record it and then upload it? And we won't even get into all those details, or it's very similar to using whatever platform you already log in to do the session if you're doing it virtually. And it's just like a little AI bot in the corner that's like, most of them do have this now where it at least would say, this is being recorded. So a client couldn't accidentally be recorded without their knowledge. And then you end the session and then it automatically generates a note within, 10, 15 minutes.
A new year means a new start. So why not get a new EHR? Therapy Notes is the all-in-one platform you've been looking for.
Therapy Notes just released their new premium telehealth feature, allowing clinicians to have up to 15 clients in a group session at a time. In addition to secure messaging, golden thread documentation, billing, scheduling, and more, it's no wonder why they're rated 4.9 on Trustpilot. With so many amazing features, it's no wonder they're the most trusted and secure choice for solo clinicians and group practices alike.
Offering live customer support 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, you're sure to keep all your New Year's resolutions with Therapy Notes at your side. Head over to therapynotes.com and use the promo code MODERN for 2 free months.
What are some of the things that people should be looking at in some of these companies as far as how they handle stuff? You're not the first person that I've heard say that there are companies out there that will put the little HIPAA logo on their website, and then you get actually deep into the user terms and you see, oh no, they aren't actually HIPAA compliant at all. So I'm wondering if you can talk maybe a little bit more kind of on the tech end. Like there seems to be kind of this, how much of tech experts do therapists need to be? Like, what understanding of technology do they need to have and be able to apply in their decision-making process? So that way they can make the decision of company A has this stuff advertised and they follow through on it, where company B says that they're going to do it, but they don't. What are some of the identifying things that people should be looking for?
Yeah, that's a great question. The big giveaway is how it tells you to use the platform. So, for example, the kind of popular one that's out there that isn't HIPAA compliant, but has that nice little symbol on their homepage. When you look at how to use the platform, it says, do not enter any PHI.
And I think if I can interrupt you for a second,
Mm-hmm.
One of the questions that we get back from our audience all of the time is, who is this company and why are we afraid of naming names?
Oh, yeah. Okay. Well, I just wanted to make sure I'm not thinking of, there are a couple I get mixed up sometimes, but yeah, Auto Notes right now is the one that I would say don't use, because as of right now, maybe this will change, but they say they're HIPAA compliant on their homepage. When you look at how to use it, it says not to enter PHI. And then when you dig into their terms and conditions, it has details that says that they are, I forget exactly what it says, but essentially it says they're not HIPAA compliant. That's really, really concerning, because I don't want everyone to feel like you do have to dig into everyone's terms and conditions every time you sign up for something electronic. And usually you don't. But I would say, without feeling like you need to become a tech expert in everything, do look at how it's telling you to use the software. So, for example, the ones that are being very careful about being HIPAA compliant and being very mindful of all of these things, they have some type of aspect that if there is a recording, for example, they ensure that the client is aware they're being recorded, right? So, kind of these practical things that we would consider as therapists, is the tech company thinking of that too? So companies like Mentalic is another one that has started pretty early, and I think they're pretty good as far as like the HIPAA compliance stuff and being mindful of that. And they adopted things like that very early compared with some of these other AI platforms. They have like a consent form and recommendations for how you can talk with your client about getting consent. A company that is coming with that type of information is very different than a company that is just giving you claims about saving you time. And then when you dig in, they're talking about not putting in PHI, right? So it's not a black and white answer. I mean, aside from read the terms and conditions, but I guess one quick thing is, do they give you a BAA? So AutoNotes won't give you a business associate agreement, a BAA, which is what you need to be HIPAA compliant, here in the US. So if you're not getting a BAA, it's not HIPAA compliant, you can't use it for client records. Like, that's a black and white, easy thing.
What are the price points on some of these? Do you have a sense of it?
I do. So they're typically a little bit cheaper than an EHR. So it's anywhere from like $10 a month to maybe like $40 to $50 a month. Most of them are in that price range.
Okay.
So I'm glad you're bringing up EHR, because I've talked with a couple of these companies, and this is a place that has notes. They have client records at some point. EHRs are where we store client records. What makes some of these AI note generating companies not EHRs? Because I don't know that I've had satisfactory answers from them other than just kind of, well, we're not an EHR. So
yeah,
what might be some of that distinguishing kind of like what makes a EHR, a simple practice of therapy notes, an EHR versus here's a company that I upload a video and they've got all sorts of PHI and BAAs and all of this kind of stuff. If a client is sending out subpoenas, what is an EHR getting versus what is an AI company getting?
Yes. And there's some nuance here, right? With like, we're saying EHR, electronic health record, but a lot of these would call themselves a practice management system, right? Like, it's more of a practice management system where it has your calendar and it has things integrated and it has client records, but it also has a way of messaging clients, right? So there's some nuance there, but in general, we say EHR, most of us when we're talking with one another. So an EHR would have a full client record. Meaning, if you did get a subpoena, your client's like, I want a copy of my records. Everything you would need to copy, everything about that person's treatment is in that file, right? That electronic file. These AI platforms are time-saving documentation tools. They're AI tools, but they're not a client record-keeping system. So there are none that I'm aware of that have a treatment plan, for example, or where you can have intake documents, informed consent forms signed. I think Mentalic does allow you to have that, the one AI consent signed in their platform, but not all of your other forms that you might have, like not your intake assessment, your biopsychosocial data, all those other things that you would need to have in a client record are not in these AI platforms. So they only have your progress notes, your session notes. And some of them delete the session notes, some of them don't. Some of them allow you to choose if you want the session notes to be deleted or not. So that's how they get around, the HIPAA stuff and whether or not they're saving the information. Does that answer the question?
I'm going to take what you're saying and I'm going to maybe oversimplify it here just a little bit for entertainment purposes. So if I'm comparing this to kind of the old school, keep things on pen and paper kinds of things, if I scatter the client's records across enough different file cabinets in enough different places, that's not a client record. That's just notes kept in a separate. That's what you're kind of saying here is that
yes.
An EHR has all of that stuff shared in one folder, but if it's kind of broken apart and separated across different companies, that doesn't make like a Mentalic a EHR system in this example.
Correct. So if you use something like Mentalic or Upheal is another common one, you would have to go into that system So go into Mentalic or Uphill, do the note, then copy it and paste it into your simple practice or therapy notes or other EHR, which is part of why it goes back to when I said it is not the time-saving silver bullet you want it to be. It's actually adding time in a lot of cases.
Well, I'm also thinking about, I think in the future, I think these EHRs should really have some of this built in, because I was going to ask you, like, how does a clinical loop function if these AI note writing bots don't have what the goals are, or what the overall treatment is, or what the diagnosis is? To me, it seems like, if you're doing it in the session, maybe it comes out in the note. But if the bot doesn't know what you're working on, it would be hard to write a documentation, any kind of documentation that shows medical necessity.
Exactly. And that's one of the big things that I have talked with a lot of these companies about, is that, insurance requirements are very real, and it's a common concern. And how are we addressing that? And it needs to be something written into their platform to tell the AI to look for and evaluate. But even so, even if they can say, okay, hey, AI, always include this type of statement, pull out whatever information from the session to create a progress statement, which is what I call it for insurance. Does that actually align with the treatment goals, right? Does that align with the symptoms, with the diagnosis? That's something you still have to know how to write a note, and you still have to know what needs to go in the note, right? So I do know that I do believe that a lot of these AI platforms can save a lot of people time and effort, even if it takes you the same amount of time, but it saves you the mental effort of writing a note. I can see benefit from that. But it is something that is still new enough that the reason, Curt, a lot of them couldn't tell you why they're different from an EHR is, frankly, they don't know. Like, these are not therapists creating most of these platforms. These are people that I've had to explain what medical necessity is to. Like, I have literally talked with these people and said, what do we do about insurance? And they're like, oh, well, what should we do about insurance? Right.
But I mean, doesn't that bring up the concern that maybe we're not quite ready to hand over client information? Like I've seen plenty of legal people throw out therapy terms, whether it's, lawyers for companies like this. I've seen judges put things down on court orders for therapy that's like, this is conflicting information even within your own writing that refers to different things. Like, is this something where, all right, maybe you're a little bit more out on kind of your risk tolerance than I am with this stuff, but is this my feeling just kind of being like, maybe they're not quite ready yet until they do this a little bit more before we're ready to jump in on this?
We're still testing it, for sure. I'm not as concerned about the tech part of it, because the people doing it, as far as security, the people doing this stuff are the tech experts. So as far as the security aspect, they actually know a lot more about that than we do, right?
Sure.
And they can explain a lot of that stuff way better than I ever could. So that part I'm okay with, as long as they're being honest and upfront. And they're still figuring it out. They're still improving things. I will say, like, Mentalic heard about the fact that all of them created fake information in the notes that I was having them create, and made some changes in their system to try and avoid that. So some of these companies are really actively trying to improve, and they're still new enough that there are things like that coming up that they need to improve, like last month. So it is something to be mindful of.
I've mostly heard about using AI for, if it's for documentation, I've mostly heard about it for notes, right? That this is the thing we all hate to do. And I picture this time in the future when my EHR that has built-in telehealth also has this built-in AI. It knows the whole chart. It helps me build the whole note, and it's gorgeous. It's immediately inputted into the right chart. And all I have to do is a little bit of edit and sign, right? Like, that would be an amazing thing. It's not there yet, it sounds like. And so the part that makes me want to, like, cringe, my progress notes, that's not really getting solved yet. Like, people who are willing to do it, they're the beta testers. They're helping folks figure it out. Maybe it'll be ready for prime time, ready for Curt in a year or two. But you in kind of the prep for this episode, you said that there's other uses for documentation beyond progress notes. What do you mean by that?
Absolutely. And I should say that I actually have discovered there is one combo EHR AI platform.
Ooh.
It's called Orchid. I have tested it a little bit and it looks pretty awesome. I haven't broken it yet. I haven't found anything super negligent about it yet. It seems great. There's an attorney that's part of the team that started it, so they're kind of on top of that stuff. And it does what you are saying, right?
Oh.
Where you go in and you write your notes, and you can choose to either do your note, or you can choose to, at the top of the note is kind of a text field where you can put in the information, or you can just have it upload a transcript, or you can log into their system and use their video platform, all the options.
Got
and
it.
it'll give you a note. And even that platform, when I was getting the walkthrough from the creator of this platform, said, I could see how AI would be really helpful initially, but over time, I think just using the checkboxes is faster than using the AI in the EHR.
Yep.
So even then, like, it's useful, but it has some really cool potential features. Like, if you can set up your account in that EHR and have all of your specialties and have certain treatment plans based on your specialties. So let's say you're an EMDR therapist, it will automatically pull out specifically EMDR interventions for you, knowing that that is, a treatment plan you've created. So there are some really awesome ways I think it could help integrate the entire record together and solve a lot of these problems that we're discussing. And it's still really new. And even with that seeming like a really awesome platform, like I said, even the creator himself was like, this seems easier to just do on your own if you know what you're doing. So there's that. So beyond that, there are a ton of ways you can use AI. So, I still use ChatGPT for other things. You could use AI to create templates. So while you can't use it for a specific, like ChatGPT, let's just go with that, because it is kind of the best one out there. There's no reason you can't say create a treatment plan template for someone with depression and use it to give you a starting place, right? So it gives you kind of a framework, and then you can pick out what you like, what you don't like, phrase it. It'll give you some phrases, and then you're kind of picking and choosing. So in a very similar way to how you would use one of these progress notes planners or treatment planner books that you could order on Amazon or something, right? It's kind of similar in that way. Use it to create some cheat sheets for yourself and get ideas of the type of language that you would like to use. You can also use it for things like creating resources for clients. Like, how many of us have spent hours, collecting information? And that's something ChatGPT could do for you in 20 seconds. Like, please collect all of the emergency numbers for Los Angeles County in California, and it'll give you a whole list of everything. You do need to check it. You still got to fact check it. But that's way easier than going on to 10 different websites and collecting numbers that you might want. Give me a list of psychiatrists in this city. And, again, for things where you have no idea where to start, it can be a really good starting place to help you filter information.
When you hire Buying Time, you get an entire team of accountable, knowledgeable virtual assistants with different specialties. It's a pretty amazing one-stop shop for your business needs. And I should know, I've been a happy customer of Buying Time since 2015. Buying Time has helped me and other therapists with admin and client customer service, finances and bookkeeping, including sending out invoices and super bills, setting up automated systems to take care of clients during onboarding, marketing, websites, social media, blogs, newsletters, and a whole lot more.
Buying Time believes in streamlining efficiency and being cost effective, so they help you to regularly evaluate systems to make sure you're not paying for programs and platforms you don't need. And they put together a free systems inventory checklist to help all of us to uncover hidden expenses and optimize spending in your practice. Go to buyingtimellc.com/MTSG to get your free checklist now. How are you seeing people talk with their clients about this stuff? Like, how much are we obligated to talk with clients. Obviously, you've referred to, all right, if we're recording sessions, but if a therapist is out there and isn't recording a session, but just kind of jots down some information and types it into one of these companies, do we ethically have an obligation to tell clients, hey, here's what I'm doing to create your notes?
That's a gray area because it's so new that nobody's ethics code has talked about it yet. Now we have principles, right, based on technology in general. And I would say if a technology is so new that nothing has talked about it yet, in general, most of our ethics codes would tell us that you need to inform your clients, right? That it's an experiment. You would treat it as an experimental type thing where you would need to inform people of what you're doing. And it is not acceptable to then say, oh, well, because this saves me time, if you don't want me to use it, I can't see you, right? Like it's an optional thing and it's your client's option, not yours. So if your client is not comfortable with it, you have to be okay with that. I would say at this point in time, to kind of use a comparison, it's a little different than like an EHR, right? I could tell a client, I use this secure system to keep your records safe. And if someone's like, I don't want you to use that system, I could say, this is not a good fit, right? Because there are tons, and it's just such an established practice and such a safe practice that we can all feel comfortable with. AI is not like that. So you do need to tell people. And there's one ethics code that has created a statement. I don't know if they've officially published it yet, but it's like anytime now or has recently been published on AI specifically. I think it's is it AMHCA, American Mental Health Counselors? I think it would be that one. And they're essentially saying exactly that. If you want to use AI, then you need to be conscious about it being HIPAA compliant and being secure, and you need to inform clients. They're specifically outlining informed consent as a requirement for using AI.
Makes it easy when it's a new client coming into a practice, but for those who are considering like, hey, I've been working with you for years and I am now switching over. I am team AI and I will be doing this with your information. Is this just kind of like all right, this is going to create termination issues where it's like, you can adopt what I'm adopting in my practice. Otherwise, you can get out in 3 sessions and here's some referrals that are generated by ChatGPT.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously, if it creates enough of an issue, everything is clinical fodder. So we can have lots of conjecture around that. But you can't choose to make it an issue, right? As the therapist, you have to give the client options. You need to present it as optional and not as this is what I'm doing now. I will say that as a general rule, it appears based on therapists I've worked with who are using it, the general population is way more open to this than we are. So I have not heard of I haven't heard of anything negative from therapists who have talked with their clients about it, like current clients where they start using it. Most of their clients think it's pretty cool, or they get it, or they're like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Like, wouldn't have thought of that. And they're fine with it. That doesn't mean every client's going to be okay with it. But I think, we tend to be a little bit more hesitant about this stuff.
It seems like a lot of folks are just embracing AI in a lot of different ways. I think I tried out ChatGPT and then forgot about it for a while. And then in prepping for an episode today, I was like, I don't have time to read all this and it feels really confusing. So let me just like pop some of this in and say, explain this to me like I'm 12. And it totally helped.
Yeah.
But what do you think therapists need to know about AI generally and advances in technology? Because I think that's the issue around being therapists is some folks are like state of the art, they know everything and they're ready to jump in. And then there are folks that are like, I know I should have an electronic health record, but I'm still writing my paper notes.
Yeah. Well, and there's no should. Like if it works for you, it works for you. I think in general, the thing to know is that it's still so new. I mean, it is brand new. Electronic health records are not new. They've been around for 20 years now, 20 plus years, right? AI is so new that it is something that will be different in 6 months You did an episode on this a year ago and it was different, right?
Very different.
If we do this episode again in a year, I expect it will be different. I do expect a lot of these EHRs will start collaborating with these AI platforms. And this is going to become kind of the way that it really works, is having those two things integrated. 5 years from now, this may not even be a big topic because it's going to be integrated in all the EHRs, right? In that way, it's still very, very new and it is here. Don't be afraid of it. Don't shy away from it because it's here. It's not going anywhere. Enough people like it and are on the bandwagon that this is it. So figure out how to feel comfortable with it and how to use it and how to do that in an ethical way.
So you're talking about the ethics codes haven't really been updated yet. If there's people who are on those ethics committees listening in on this, what would you recommend? I mean, I may or may not be one of them. What would you recommend seeing in some of the ethics codes to update, to be prepared with this transition now?
I think the client consent issue is huge, right? That comes up over and again, regardless of what we're talking about, right? With technology, with all the things we do. So absolutely having informed consent is part of it. And then I think making sure that a therapist has at least checked to see, is something HIPAA compliant? And I don't know exactly. I know the ethics codes don't specifically say HIPAA compliant, but
follow the laws around technology.
Yeah. However they framed
and
it, right?
confidentiality. Yeah.
Yeah. But there's no reason. There are already enough AI platforms for therapists for using for progress notes that are HIPAA compliant. There's no reason not to use one of those. There's no reason to use ChatGPT for your progress notes if you can pay $15 a month to have something secure your client records, right? So I think it needs to address, at least on my end, those are the two big things that come up. Is this platform actually secure? And are our clients informed of the process?
So the question that always comes up around AI for me, so this is kind of switching gears just a little bit before we wrap up. Everyone's worried that AI is going to take our jobs. And to me, uploading a whole bunch of sessions and having AI either transcribe them or make them into notes or write reports or whatever they do is a really good way to train AI on what therapy looks like. What do you think about that fear? Am I just totally paranoid or is this happening?
I think it is in some way. And I don't think we have to be worried about it taking our jobs. I think it's okay for people to have AI services that help them with something, I don't think that's a bad thing, allowing people more access to mental health resources, which is really what it's going to be. And if we can be involved in that process, it will vastly improve it, right? Which is why I've been willing to talk to a lot of these AI platforms from the beginning, because I'm like, hey, you haven't thought about insurance, right? And none of them had.
Yeah.
So, I would rather be a part of them improving that system than rolling it out without even considering that, and then having other therapists take the fall, right? So we might as well be a part of making these AI therapists, these AI therapy services better. And there are a lot of people with really, really good intentions and really good hearts who are trying to do that. There are tech companies who are just trying to make money off of it and see it as an opportunity. But there are also really good people involved in this that we can work with and make this a good thing. And I think if we could collaborate it, it could really be a very beautiful partnership. If you could have clients and know that they also have this AI service that they can use throughout the week when they're not seeing you, and that it gives them little tips, or it reminds them of things you two have talked about in a session, or it reminds them of homework you've talked about, or it reminds them, or it even brings up to you things that maybe you haven't brought up with. And you could what if you could just click a button? Oh yeah, I forgot to tell them about this. And it shows up in their app right? And they have access to it, and you don't have to remember to bring it up next week. And this client can actually access it now. There's a lot of benefits to integrating traditional therapy with AI therapy. And if we're too scared to look at that and too scared it's going to take away our job, then I think we're going to miss a lot of those benefits.
I actually think that sounds pretty good. So I'm with you. My paranoia is gone.
Where can people find out more about you and the courses that you're doing and all the wonderful things that you're up to?
Yeah, qaprep.com is the go-to place for everything. And if you find me on YouTube, so that's under my name, Maelisa McCaffrey, I do have a whole AI series, and I am doing specific reviews on all the different AI platforms. So you can check that out too.
And we'll include links to those over in our show notes over at mtsgpodcast.com. Our show notes are totally not written by AI, and
they actually aren't, Curt. You made it sound like they were.
They aren't.
It's painstaking. What is written by AI is our transcripts.
So you can also find the transcripts over at mtsgpodcast.com, and follow us on our social media. Join us in our Facebook group, the Modern Therapist Group, to continue on this conversation. And until next time, I'm Curt Whithelm with Katie Vernoy and Maelisa McCaffrey.
Don't forget to visit therapynotes.com and use promo code MODERN to start your 2-month free trial today.
Buying Time is a full-service virtual support agency that is standing by to support you in your practice. It's time for you to get out of the day-to-day and bring in someone you can trust that has the experience to help you with all your business needs.
And don't forget to go to buyingtimellc.com/MTSG for your free systems inventory checklist. Get on the path to less expenses and more profit.
Thank you for listening to the Modern Therapist Survival Guide. Learn more about who we are and what we do at mtsgpodcast.com. You can also join us on Facebook and Twitter. And please don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any of our episodes.